Greetings, fellow educators in Japan. My name is Todd J. Leonard, and I'm the author of the new textbook series called Talk Talk Meeting People and Talk Talk Going Places. Today I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation about the rationale of the books and to introduce some of the exercises to you. Over the years, the Talk Talk series has been a consistent and steady seller among English conversation textbooks in Japan. Both native English and Japanese teachers of English have adopted them, with many opting to continue to adopt them year after year. I've surveyed a number of teachers over the years that have used this textbook series, and I've incorporated many of their suggestions in this revised version. Making the book more manageable to finish completely in one term was the most prevalent of the suggestions made by teachers. Especially Japanese teachers do not like to have lessons left over at the end of the term. They prefer to complete the entire book. So, with the normal 15-lesson term, the first class meeting is to introduce the class, which is the course orientation. Midway through the semester, teachers can have some type of midterm speaking exam and then an end of the term final speaking exam. The remaining 12 class meetings would be devoted to the lessons included in each textbook. Teachers who only teach for one term can utilize one of the books in the two-book series, and teachers who teach the same students for 2 terms can use both books for the entire year. The Talk Talk series is a situational dialogue-based course for beginning to intermediate students of English as a foreign language. The conversations focus on American English usage with emphasis on everyday useful colloquial expressions that will aid the student of English in mastering the language as it is actually spoken. The text of each conversation is packed with expressions and idioms that are current with modern-day American English usage. These conversation-based texts challenge students to analyze the meaning of the language through carefully designed, student-centered, task-based activities that focus on the 4 skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, with a 5th skill, the cultural component of language, that is included in each lesson. The content of each lesson is not only practical in nature, but is language that is used on a daily basis by Americans throughout the United States. Many teachers believe that students better acquire a foreign language more quickly and efficiently if the target language is presented in situational contexts. By presenting the language in real and meaningful settings via authentic dialogue, students can better grasp the proper usage through this method of presentation and modeling. Most Japanese students have had from 6 to 8 years of intensive English study in their secondary education, and many today, even in their primary school years, have begun to learn English. So they are ready to use this knowledge of grammar and structure they have studied and learned in more meaningful and practical contexts. The exercises in each lesson are divided into 7 sections. First is the dialogue. It presents the lesson's main text via recording teachers may download for free from Halico's website. I usually write 3 easy-to-answer questions on the blackboard to focus the students' attention. They listen first to the dialogue with their textbooks closed, trying to answer the questions written on the blackboard. Students then read the lesson's conversation on their own, noting the colloquial expressions by highlighting them in their textbooks as they read the dialogue on their own. Second section is the vocabulary expansion. This outlines and defines the new words and expressions from the dialogue. At this point, I go through each line of the conversation and explain the key words and phrases in detail. This further reinforces the vocabulary with additional example usages of the language. I finish this section by playing the recording again so students can read and listen at the same time to grasp the rhythm and pronunciation of the conversation. Then I end this by asking students to practice saying the conversation in pairs. I often ask a pair to volunteer to read the conversation, which allows them to help reinforce the content and vocabulary in their students' own minds, which assists them with the next section, which is comprehension questions. This requires a basic understanding of the dialogue by asking 4 content-based questions that tests the student's understanding of the content of the conversation. Next section is the matching. This allows students to match several of the vocabulary items presented in the conversation in authentic interactions. This is designed to further test the students' understanding of the material by challenging them to select possible answers based on the context of the interaction. Mini dialogues incorporate many of the new vocabulary items and phrases in this section from the dialogue and vocabulary expansion sections in 3 mini conversations. This information gap activity requires students to fill in the missing words and phrases and blanks in the conversation. After asking for student volunteers to write the correct words on the board for the class to check their answers, the students then role play the dialogues with a partner for further practice. I often then ask for volunteer pairs to model the dialogues to the class, further reinforcing the language through reading and listening to their peers. The cultural close-up section focuses on the similarities and differences between the American and Japanese cultures in a related reading that extrapolates one aspect of culture from the conversation to concentrate upon. Included with the reading are 2 activities, a vocabulary building exercise that is in a multiple choice format, and short answer, which requires students to skim and reread the reading to answer 5 questions related to the context and content of the reading. Finally, we have an extended practice task included in the teacher's book. This is available for free from Halico and extends a lesson with a writing task, enabling students and pairs to create their own conversations with some guidance using the vocabulary presented in the lesson. Students select one situation from 3 possibilities and write their own dialogue. The extended practice task can be done in class as pair work or as a homework independent from the class, depending upon the level of the class and if time allows. As the teacher, you may utilize all the activities in the order given for each lesson or opt to exploit specific activities more fully, depending upon the level and interest of your students. Each lesson is self-contained and may be presented in any order that is more useful, appropriate, or natural to you and your students. This Talk series places great emphasis on teaching students to use the language presented in everyday, practical, and natural situations. The activities are designed to build confidence in using American English actively rather than being merely a passive recipient. Students who use Talk will be encouraged to take an active role in improving their English skills by learning to express themselves in English with confidence when speaking to native English speakers, when traveling to foreign countries, or when making friends with other people in English. The success of Talk in past formats over the years has been the fact that it is easy to use, it recycles key vocabulary words and phrases throughout each lesson, it is practical and consistent in its presentation, and it offers the 4 skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, plus promoting a 5th skill, the cultural aspect of language, through the vocabulary expansion and cultural close-up sections. Students are required to read for understanding, write their own dialogue, and to speak and listen throughout each lesson. This approach gives students a well-rounded education in English. So now I would like to show you some examples from the actual textbook. So let me share the screen. So as you can see, this is the contents of Talk Meeting People, and each lesson focuses on 3 different units. It's divided into 3 different units. So the first unit, Meeting People, meeting a friend by accident. You wouldn't be Tom Hanley, would you? Allow me to introduce myself. It's a pleasure to meet you. These all deal with actual interactive conversations in meeting other people in different situations. The second unit is Making Plans. Let's do lunch. Making an appointment, let's have a party, I need a vacation. All of these are plan-making activities that allow students to practice and to learn how to make plans with other people. And the last section, Giving Information, I think I'm lost. May I take a message? Calling and leaving a message, leaving a voicemail message. All of these are about giving information. In the other textbook, Going Places, as you can see here, I'll give you some of the examples of the different topics in this. For instance, going places, ordering at a restaurant, getting a haircut, fill her up, going to a gas station, at the library. Everyday activities, why don't you try it on? Shopping, how would you like your money? Going to the bank, how many nights will you be with us? Which is hotel related. And I want to mail this package overseas. This is going to the post office. The last section is taking a trip. How many bags are you checking? Welcome aboard. Passport, please. Do you have anything to declare? All of these topics in the Giving Information Unit 3 section is about traveling. So when students go to travel. Let me show you an example of an actual lesson. So I'll continue to share the screen here. So this is an example of the dialogue. So this would be lesson 1 in the Meeting People textbook, Meeting a Friend by Accident. And as you can see, it's not terribly long, but it's packed full of very useful information and vocabulary words and phrases that students will be able to use in everyday conversation. For example, the first line, long time no see, how's it going? So it's the different way of saying very practical things. And then going on, we will have the vocabulary expansion. Vocabulary expansion takes each of the phrases that was highlighted in the conversation, and it further explains through definitions and example usages how the language is used. And this further strengthens students' understanding of the language. And then from there, we go to short answer. So the short answer section is 4 very simple questions that deal directly with the conversation. So in this one, it asks, who met Dawn on the street? Where is Dawn going? What is meant by the big day? How does Dawn ask June if he can come? So those are the basic questions that students, if they don't remember, can reread or skim the conversation to answer. And then the matching section has a column A and column B, and students must take one item from column A and match it to column B. So the first example, how have you been? How is the weather? How are your parents? And the answer, great, things couldn't be better. Well, obviously, how have you been would be the best question for that particular answer. And then going on, we will share the screen for the mini dialogues. So there are 3 mini dialogues, which again takes the information from the actual conversation and reuses it in different contexts. And the students must listen in this information gap activity and fill in the blanks as they listen to the 3 conversations. And then it goes on to the cultural close-up. So there's one aspect of each conversation that is then expanded in the cultural close-up. So for instance, the cultural cue for this lesson was about American weddings. Dawn's getting married and he invited June to come to the wedding. So American weddings is the topic, the cultural aspect of the lesson that students will read and then better understand the differences between American and Japanese culture. And then related to this is vocabulary builder. And the first section is multiple choice. So students can find the word in the actual essay about American weddings in the cultural close-up and then try to match that by reading through context with the best possible answer, choosing between A, B, and C, or true and false. And then the second part of this activity is a short answer. So again, it teaches students to skim or to reread the essay to find the answers to very simple questions that are located in the beginning, middle, and end of the actual reading. And then finally, which is in the teacher's book, is the extended practice task. And this book is available on Halico website, and you can download that along with all of the recordings for each of the lessons. And the teacher's book will explain in detail how to teach each lesson and give you the answers for the textbook, and also the recordings are available there. So that basically concludes what is included in each one. And I'd like to also end by saying that should you have any questions or want to contact me directly, please email me. My email address is toddjleonard@yahoo.com. That's my name spelled out completely in all small letters, no spaces. And anytime, if you have any questions or you'd like to know more about the book, I'm very happy to answer any questions that I can that you may have. So thank you very much for listening. I'm very happy if you would adopt this textbook, and I hope you enjoy using it. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.